Amy Jones Kane joining us. All right, Amy Jones. That's how I've always known her.
That's how everybody knows me.
Well, I was going to say, my whole entire
Nobody
life,
calls me Amy.
Right.
Just so you know, nobody calls me Amy.
Did they just call you Jones?
No.
Is there like a special nickname?
No, they just call me Amy Jones.
Okay.
Everybody calls me.
It just has to go together.
I guess it's, both are short.
Yes.
They're short little names,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess Amy's so. I always laughed that I always wanted to say as a kid. And did my parents go into the post office and look and say, you know what? Let's name our kid the name that could be on the sample form in the post office, because I got it.
Okay.
I mean, Amy Jones, Anywhere
Right.
USA.
Anywhere
With a
USA.
555 phone number.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about growing up. Okay. Tell me about that a little bit. Share with me. What do you want to tell us about growing up?
I loved growing up in Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
I really have some really, really, really great memories of growing up here. And here's my favorite. I loved football earnestly. And I would say me ending up in sports was a very natural thing,
Mm-hmm.
that I learned football from my grandfather.
How
And
Mm-hmm.
what we used to do, here's my Lafayette in a nutshell is right here. Sunday mornings, my grandfather was Dwight Andrus's right hand.
Mhm.
So this was before they were insurance. This is when Dwight Andrus basically built houses, right?
Mhm.
So my grandfather builds pretty much from South College, and I think the last neighborhood he was in building was Fernwood. So
Okay,
all of
gotcha.
those houses in between, if you go down Johnston Street, was under the guidance of my grandfather. And they loved to place their Sunday morning bets on football.
I love it.
And if you didn't know, and it's not there anymore, but Toby's Oak Grove, that used to be the restaurant on Four
Right.
Corners,
Remember?
that was right across from Jacob's.
That's where everybody went for prom.
Right.
And
well,
homecoming.
let me tell you, in the back of the kitchen at Toby's Oak Grove was the sports book for
I love
Lafayette.
this. I
all
love
right?
that we're getting
So
deep on the secrets.
all of the walls were all of the games. And Mr. Tom that owned it, he ran the betting in Lafayette in the 70s. So here was Sunday mornings as I would wake up and we would take off and we would go to Mr. Andrus's and they would go through and I could see them going through and where all the bets were going to be. And Mr. Andrus had the coolest house in Lafayette, right? It was just unbelievable. So I would go explore. And then after we were done there, we would go to Mr. Tom's and we would place all the bets. And while they were doing that, he would get the cooks in the kitchen to cook some of those famous spare ribs they used to have.
yummy.
Right. So I used to get spare ribs on Sunday mornings. And then after we did that, my grandfather, a devout Catholic, went to Mass every day of his life.
Wow.
We would go to the Carmelite monastery to light a candle, and he would look at me. He's like, get on your knees and let's pray for Coach Landry and the Cowboys. So that, there you go.
That's
That was Sundays in Lafayette for me. So do I love this place? I don't even have enough words
To describe.
to tell you how much I love that, my huge memories were, that was
all these
Sunday
fun
for me.
places, all
Absolutely.
these fun people.
Oh, yeah. And
did you feel like that? Like there were always fun people in Lafayette?
there was always something, and I was my grandfather's kid, and I was a daddy's girl.
Mhm.
So it was either I was at the hospital in the
Mhm.
doctor's lounge, or my grandfather. I would go, and God bless those architects; they were so patient that I would go with him on Saturday. Sundays we do, of course, betting football, but Saturdays he would go up to the office,
Mhm.
and the office was closed. But at the time, the drafting room was in the back of Dwight Andrus.
Ah.
So I discovered the electric eraser.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good.
And they had beautiful lines to erase. So I like to say, God bless those architects that would come in Monday and look at it and be like, oh, we know who was here on Saturday. So what was really cute is they started leaving me little pretend houses so that I could erase those and not their actual work.
I love that, though, but that's adorable.
Isn't it, though? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I would do that, and then I would sneak into Mr. Andrus's office, and I would get on the intercom, and I would call for my secretary and go all over the office. And look, I had, you talk about where does my creativity come from?
Yes.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
This kid had a lot going on
And
in her
you would
head.
just speak it out.
And I knew at some point it had to it had to come out. And I loved public speaking. You know?
So even as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
my grandfather, too, went to Mass every day. Well, he would go to Mass there, but then he would have to go to my Mass because I would go to their house and I would take the ottoman and I would set up.
Amy.
And I would. And
Amy, this is great.
Oh, yeah. Their friends used to come over.
Oh, please tell me.
They would come over for Mass
Yes.
that I would do and I would read, but it really didn't matter like what I was reading out of their little Bible. What was more important was my homilies. Yes. And the fact that I then, went through, I had the whole thing memorized. They had to have communion, which was always some sort of like little mint wafer that they would get. Yes.
Right? Yes.
And, there's still people that can tell you that it took me a long time, though, that I got the bread down. But I'm telling you, Bernie, I could being young, it was hard sometimes for me to remember that this was the blood of Christ. So they got the bladder of Christ quite often.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's hilarious.
And my robes, my grandfather had this seersucker robe. That was my priest robe, and his tie was my stole.
Yes.
And look, I was in it to win it.
Win it totally.
Oh, totally. I mean, I had this deal that, they were like, oh, you're going to be a priest, and are you going to be the first woman priest? And I was like, guys, I'm not going to be a priest. I'm going to be a cardinal. They have much better colors. You know me. Even at that age, I wasn't going to do it if I couldn't be in charge.
Okay, seriously, that's what I've been thinking through this whole thing. That's the only way that I know you is in charge.
Absolutely.
And to know that even as a young person that you were like that too, I think is adorable.
Oh, I think it helped me get over my shyness.
I would think so.
Being painfully shy, if I could then ascend to the leadership position,
right?
I could then be in charge and tell people what to do rather than have to talk to them.
That's so great. Oh, okay. So Amy Jones is joining us. And okay. So did you really, like at that time, did you think to yourself, well, I really will become a cardinal? Or was that like a fleeting thought? Or did you say, I'll be a famous actress one day?
Oh, no, I never wanted to be on stage.
Really?
I wanted to give... I just wanted to do something where I could give speeches. That's really what is the thing that for me was always, and it is the ongoing joke with my company. We throw great parties, okay? We throw great parties. And everybody, they always say, what's with the fact that we do these 2 annual parties that just have grown in scope? And I'm like, because I can give a speech twice a year.
I've got this captive audience.
Exactly. If you are in a room and I am like giving you booze and food, you're going to hear me speak.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
Yeah.
That is okay. Well, then no surprise that you got into speech. So what categories were you in?
I was always in public speaking.
Okay.
That was always, it was always public speaking for me. I loved it.
Was it original oratory? What was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a 2-time state champion in oratory and then extemp because, give me a topic and then I just have to talk about it.
Okay, seriously? Extemporary. I don't know why I didn't do that. I missed my chance.
Seriously, Bern, 30 minutes to think about what you can go and make up for 7 minutes and they have to listen to you.
And now I
dream
torture
come
people
true.
Monday through Friday.
I know.
I
know.
What? Okay, so you obviously did. You loved it. Did you love the research that was involved?
Oh,
too?
absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, no, really?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I would have magically have thought that you would have loved that part, but no.
No, I didn't like the research. Luckily, I can read something and retain it. And that's about, no, I didn't like the research. I just like to talk.
Okay, Amy Jones is joining us. I'm so glad we're getting to have this conversation and letting people get to know you a little bit. And we've got more to
I'm
come.
really letting them get to know me here, right?
Hey, we still have 2 segments.
Oh, wow.
Who knows? We'll be right back.